I make a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the approval of the minutes, the approval of accounts payable totaling $8,671.45, and approval of December financials.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any public comments? No public comments. Okay. Moving right along, department updates, Public Works, Mr. Eric Bailey, please. How are you?
All right, how are you?
Good. What do you know? Anything good?
Just another wonderful day.
Good.
Got a little rain, got a little sunshine. Monthly culvert
Okay.
permit. January we had one.
Oh, flip.
Culvert.
And then your fuel, monthly fuel report should have been emailed.
I didn't get it.
Yet.
Yeah, I didn't get it either.
Okay. Got there, I can get you copies if I want.
Oh, I don't.
Tearing things up here.
Cat get you?
New puppy,
New puppy. Okay.
new lab puppy.
Whole lot better prices than fuel.
Yeah.
We've
looking a
seen
lot
the
better.
past. It
Hope
helps
they
a lot, doesn't it?
Hope they stay like that though.
Yeah.
Okay. 130th in Kansas, back to the east. We had a hand-laid rock arch culvert giveaway last month. Finalizing getting the DWR permit so we can get that replaced. We'll have to go back with 4 48-inch plastic culverts, and but as soon as we get our DWR permit, we'll get started replacing that so we can get the full road open back up. Right now it's down to 1 lane, so they can get by, but
Okay.
I would just soon go ahead and get that replaced. 225th and Tomahawk, I believe Commissioner Beth brought this up last week. We're working with the engineer on to determine the tube sizes and how many tubes it's going to take, and then to obtain a DWR permit. So we are moving forward. We're getting some information on that. We did meet with one property owner today on the south side. Got a blessing to do whatever we needed to do to be able to get it opened up a little bit there to get some more water moving. So we'll be making contact with the property owner on the north side, make sure we can do the same thing there. So
you have any issues with that, just let me know.
yeah, we'll do. Yep.
I can get any issues.
Yep. So wanted to give you a heads up, Blackberry transmission line where they're working on replacing the poles or what have you out there in the area of 20th, Fern and Grand, all the way through Arrowhead, 90th to 100th Street. They're going to start around February 10th, clearing brush and cutting trees and things like that. So that project's getting ready to start here in the near future.
The majority of that on private property.
Majority of it is. There's a little bit in the right of way that they'll have to cut some trees and do what have you to be able to get in and out of the property
Okay.
and make sure trees don't get in the way of their transmission line. So tried to get some rock on the road last week. We got a little bit on there. We did receive anywhere from 1.5 to 2 inches of rain over the weekend, which is a great thing. But we're hoping to be back out tomorrow, spreading rock and getting more rock on the road. Pothole patcher was out last week. We ran out of oil Friday, went up and got a load of oil today, so we'll be back out patching potholes again tomorrow.
Good.
55th and Maple, they went out and got the approach I did drive that. For the most
It's a lot
part,
better than it was.
yeah, a lot better than it was. So, yeah. And then last but not least, just give you a heads up. Thursday is our annual MSHA refresher course that we have to take every year for anyone that's going to be at the quarry. So that'll be an all-day event, and we'll be having that at our Public Works facility. So, and with that, that's all I have. Anything for me?
Okay, a couple things.
Perfect.
So Vance Eden contacted me. I don't know if he contacted anybody else, but so they've got the rock donated.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard that, but
I heard it from our previous conversation.
okay, yeah. So all the rock's been donated. 50 loads would, over a period of, if it's all right with the commission, would we be able to haul it? He can't pay us for it, but there is fuel available at the school, and he's talked to his attorney, and we could fuel up our trucks.
Are you here, Justin?
Yeah, he's coming.
Haul it and fuel up our trucks.
Waiver of liability, I'm good.
So
That's easy. Yeah, it's a donation, so.
Okay.
yeah.
I'm good with it.
Another entity is donating the rock, and we would just be hauling it, and they would be giving us the fuel.
I'm good, Clifton.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
I
good.
don't think we need to make a motion or anything. So
I'll have to get the waiver of liability or what have you.
get away with liability and
Yeah, rock and roll.
walk roll on
Perfect.
down the road.
that's taken care of.
I don't have anything, Eric.
Okay.
We had another one, didn't he?
I mean, I had something else. One of them, I don't know if this was it or not, but 145th Street. Thanks for putting rock on there. I got a little nicey nice on Facebook.
If I'm gonna be 100% honest on that, I got to give credit to Larry Martin for texting me last Friday that said we need rock on that road in a bad way. So yes, so between everybody, we got rock on the road.
Yes.
So anyhow, yeah, it definitely needed it. There's
Yep.
no other way about it.
I think that's it. So we got the Uniontown deal squared away,
Yeah.
hopefully, and
You want me to make contact with Vance? You want to make contact, follow up from your conversation? How
well,
do
I
you handle
guess
it?
Justin would probably be the one to. I think if he just has a deal for us to sign next commission meeting, and yeah, I'll give him a call
Okay.
after we do that. Let him know that it's good.
Well, why don't we save the next commission meeting and I'll make a motion to allow, and Justin, if this is okay, is it okay to allow you or Eric to sign that waiver of liability?
He's your director. If he signs the waiver, you'll be fine.
Good enough, don't need the motion then.
All right.
That way we can
So I'll
save
call him
some
and tell him
time.
it's taken care of then.
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome.
Perfect. Anybody else?
Not for me. I appreciate what you're doing.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right.
All right. Jennifer Hawkins, County Clerk President Day Meeting.
So the 19th is President's Day. I just wanted to see if you were going to have a meeting that night. The courthouse is closed. I just need to know how to publish.
I would say no.
Yeah, the courthouse is closed, and
Courthouse closed, will be closed.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Item, election ballot. That you, Justin?
It is. Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
We haven't had a good banter session in quite some time because in the past, our words are used against us. That's just being brutally honest. So I need to have a banter session about the language that you want on the election ballot. I mean, it could be 20 minutes, 30 minutes of discussing it. I mean, we have Clifton here who knows what's going on with healthcare. There's lots of things that we could talk about what the sales tax election ballot would do. I mean, the language could be very simple, it could be very complicated. I mean, Vernon County and Allen County, it's one sentence. Other places are a little, like maybe 3 sentences, but I just need some direction. I mean, Susan's been helping with this quite a bit. She's been a great resource. It can be on the ballot in 40 days. So we can easily have it in April to allow the citizens of our county to have that election and go forward with it. But, obviously, healthcare has been very fluid. So lots of changes have happened literally in the last 4 or 5 days with how and when and where that can all happen. I know healthcare is on the next thing, but we can kind of join the two together and have that conversation. But, you know, obviously, Allen County's was one sentence. It talked about facilities and healthcare, which would include EMS, would include, you know, obviously maintaining a building. You talk about building a new hospital. I mean, I know that's a lot of money, but we just need some direction to what to put on the ballot and to move forward if you want to move forward, because I know Clifton might want to update us a little bit on the changes that have happened recently, but
I certainly want to move forward as a commissioner, and I would like to see the ballot like Allen County, just a simple one sentence. But I most certainly want to address any worst case scenario that we might go forward. You know, let's say we had an arrangement in 6 months with an ER and something fell through and something happened to the legacy building. I mean, but you said facility, so that's pretty broad. So we could do some things with that word in there.
well, you know, Allen County did a 5-year.
Do you have a copy of Allen County's in there?
No, I didn't include any of that because I wanted to have a banter about it. I wanted to talk about, I mean, I can pull it up. I have it. I can read it to you. Give me 1 second. This won't take very long. I'm becoming technology savvy, which I'm pretty impressed with by my. Let's see here. Allen County's, if it doesn't flip on me here.
I think we should
You know how to put the
plan
screen
for the
lock
worst
on?
and hope for the best.
Right. Shall countywide retail tax or tax and the amount of 0.25% 1/4 be imposed for the purpose of partially funding healthcare services, including emergency medical, ambulance services, and building. That's it. Yes or no?
So, I guess the only thing with that is we want, I mean, we're going to find out whether the people want an ER or not. So that just says, you know, medical services. That could be the CHC clinic, that could be EMS, that could be, that's not specific to,
Clifton could talk about that.
I agree.
yeah, it's not specific to
So,
ER, emergency room.
I
have Nevada's. You want to read that real quick?
yeah, go ahead.
Imposing a general city sales tax for the city-owned Nevada Regional Medical Center at the rate of 1/2% on the receipts of all retail sales or property of services within the city which are subject to taxation by the state of Missouri, and they can go through their statutes. Such sales tax will be terminated when the hospital revenue bonds now outstanding have been retired, or the termination by the city council, whichever occurs first. And the city there, they actually backed those bonds up, so they'll owe those until they're paid off. I checked on that. And I actually would like to respond to his comment if you don't mind. So obviously, we've learned a lot over the last 5 years since this has been going on. We know that the ER is a licensing issue. It's not wave the magic wand and you open an ER. And so having generalized language, I think, is really important because you're going to have a spectrum of things that you're going to have to do to get an ER here. You know, obviously, you can't just open a hospital without the licensing from well, I guess you could, but you're not going to get reimbursed. So really what it comes down to is the reimbursement rates that you get from the federal government to help keep your facility open.
Well, you can't open one anyway.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying,
you
but
can't-
that's my
you
point.
just
I mean,
can't open one
you can't just
without
wave the
license.
magic wand and like, here's an ER, so that wouldn't, you can't say, I don't think the sales tax initiative on the election can say open an ER, because that really is impossible, I think, right?
Okay, then why are we putting the tax on the ballot then? I mean,
Well, without the tax on the ballot, what we've learned is we haven't got the RAH designation yet. So without the supplement, we're basically filling in what the RAH would do. That's the answer. That the local taxpayers are going to pay it.
So here's the problem though, and I agree with Nelson. Here's the problem. So the next commission, they say, you know what, we're not gonna spend that 1.5 million or give or take whatever dollars, we're not gonna
Right.
spend it on the building, we're gonna give it to all the MS.
You can't. I don't think you. I mean, you can.
Nah.
You could. You could.
You can.
I mean, that's what we're bantering about
And
it. I mean,
and I absolutely don't agree with
right,
that.
right. So, you know, obviously that's what the language would say. I mean, we can make it really specific, saying it's only for
So-
ER. But what happens if you don't have an ER? Then where's the money go? Sits in an account and waits.
Then it doesn't,
Goes
yeah.
back. You can't refund it back to the taxpayers. How you gonna? So you call Joe Schmo who bought a dress from Bids and Dibs and give him the money back?
I think we have to look at our planning stage the next 10 years. What's worse, what's the best? Well, I know that's a
I know.
long stretch.
if
I
we
get
don't
it.
know
This is a
exactly
big-
what we're gonna do with the money, then I say we don't take it.
Right. Well, that's one of the things that I talked. I mean, I had a conversation with Commissioner Beth about this. Is that if we don't have a way to open the ER with a license, then, maybe we need to roll this back and actually come up with a 10-year plan. But
Well, the money can be, the money could be used to entice physicians. It could be used to entice a 24-hour urgent care ran by physicians. It could be enticed for an rural health clinic. So the money could be used for other things that those people would need to do those things. Personally, I absolutely don't want particular, and no offense, Terry or John or anybody DMS, but there's no way I'm going to vote to put it on the ballot if it says the money could all go to EMS.
Right.
Because we would have the
I'm
best
just saying,
EMS in the world.
I just read it. I mean,
I mean,
that's all
I know.
doing.
I'm just saying.
Right.
I mean, it would be
I'm not advocating
ridiculous.
for that
You
at
would
all.
have. I mean,
if we don't have an ER, we need to do something to make EMS better, probably.
Well, I think you need an ER
Yeah.
because you have business owners that have.
we need an ER.
We need an ER bad.
But the problem is
Really
you're
bad.
right. Getting that ER is a licensing issue.
It has been
plain and
since
simple.
October
And-
1 of 2018.
Yeah,
Has been.
Yeah, it's just as simple as that. It's
Right.
not it's not rocket science.
No.
And $1.5 million is a long ways from starting a hospital. It won't even begin to start a hospital. I mean, you're talking millions. I mean,
Well, I think.
but it would help to get somebody that's already in the space to come, to entice them to come, no different than any other.
And that's a subsidy like REH designation. You'll be subsidized instead of the federal government
And
subsidizing
so
it, the local
My
taxpayers would.
opinion is it absolutely, the subsidy, well, I mean, the language would be, it sunsets or goes away or whatever the correct terminology is, if the REH designation was had.
I think that the places that we've looked at, they're both places or all the places we've looked has a sunset. They're not in they don't go on for 20 or 25 years. They either until the note's paid off or 5 years. So I mean that, or 10 years, whatever you want, but it doesn't go on forever and ever, which makes sense. And you can put that REH designation in there to basically say if we get it, it terminates. But then, there's gonna be a transition period from the time that they get the designation until they get the refund, get the subsidy too, or the
And
reimbursement.
You guys certainly correct me if I'm wrong, because one thing I know is what you guys have basically told me before is moving forward with healthcare. Now, I've been told for months and months and months that we have to get the REH. But then I've been told that someone needs to be here before we get the REH. Then I was told by a senator today that they can apply for REH before they get here.
Right.
So if we was to have a sales tax,
I'm going to interrupt you for
Okay.
a second. We do not qualify for REH.
Right.
That very clear. We do not qualify for REH.
well,
Okay.
and I believe you 100%. The senator
wait,
told me today
Can I,
that
can I banter about this for a second? Because this
Yeah.
is really important. So my understanding is you can apply for it,
right.
but you
We're not
got
going to get it.
Yeah, that's what we've been told is we're not going to get it without boots on the ground kind of thing, right?
The senator said today,
Well,
you got to apply before you get the boots.
well, let's talk about
But
the government is
the language in the bill does not apply to this county at all. We couldn't get REH no matter what. We can apply all day long. We or Amberwell or Via Christi or Nevada Regional or whoever can apply. But the bill states December, and Charles, I'm going to ask you, do you know the exact date? Is it December
27th,
Dis-
2020.
December 27th, 2020?
We
We
closed
did
down.
not have a hospital December 20th,
Right.
27th, 2020.
We shut down October.
Plain and simple.
Here.
So we are immediately kicked out based on that one sentence. Would you agree with that, Mr. Gentry?
I
Well,
understand, did you say senator, are you talking to Senator Moran?
Well, let's not go there.
I'm not going to go there.
So,
This was,
so-
if
so
they
it's-
passed the legislation, change the
The
date.
change of the date
Yeah,
would change
Not
things.
today, they got to
Okay.
change the date, what he meant.
That
Senator-
would change things.
Yeah.
Senator Moran's bill has got it rolling back.
To 2015.
Right.
Yeah, that was what this guy was referring to. If they roll that date back, then the person could apply and not be here.
Right.
Yes, that's
Okay,
true statement.
That's
Okay.
That's the clarification I was
Yes.
asking for. So if without the rollback,
Right.
what you just said won't work.
Right,
Right.
right. But with the rollback, it will
It
work.
would work. But
Okay.
we have to have
But
a
my question is,
act of Congress.
with a 0.5% sales tax, it would look like it'd bring in about $1.6 million.
Mm-hmm.
And I know if they was here without the REH, they wouldn't get some payback from Medicare, is that correct?
That's a bump.
Okay, a bump. But would $1.6 million entice someone to come here and get started?
Yes.
Yes.
Because
They'd still lose
it-
money maybe.
Yes.
I think it's something that, you got to have money to go shopping. So that, because I tell my wife we don't have money, but you got to have money to go shopping. And I told this to a doctor last week. I was having call. If we're going to visit with Amberwell or other folks with our goals to get an ER, we got to have money to go shopping a little bit, guys.
So, but I want to clarify something.
So-
Can a standalone ER happen in the United States?
No.
No,
That's the point that I feel like everyone's missing
So
without.
there are
the
two
license.
people currently,
Right.
two
Thank you, Commissioner Beth.
two entities that can operate an emergency room in Bourbon County. That is Nevada Regional Medical Center and Via Christi.
Right.
That is it.
okay.
Nobody else can operate an emergency room in Bourbon County today unless we were to
Okay.
start a PPS hospital.
Okay.
Explain what that is.
And a PPS hospital is similar to Via Christi and Nevada Regional, which both are losing massive amounts of money.
Okay. But my point is, we have talked for months and months and months that if we're going to have health care in Bourbon County, someone has to subsidize it.
That's true.
Local, state, federal, something.
State and federal aren't going to do it.
I know it.
Let's just be honest. It's not going to happen.
I know it, but I said someone has to, and
Right.
they're not going to. Let's just pretend that it would be great if Via Christi could come back. If something fell through, and that's not going to happen.
Right.
But with the losses they were
Could.
sustaining, we don't have no money to help them. If they
true.
was to come back with this sales tax, we'd have money to help them come back and
Right.
take this loss. You know, without some money in our coffers, we can't talk to hardly anyone because we talked about taking, so many $100,000 of our reserves, but we can't do that next year.
We have enough to subsidize someone with these two licenses for at least a year and a half.
Yeah.
If the city and the county are able to.
But after that,
Come
it's
together.
either sales tax or property
Right.
tax, and I'm not gonna vote on property tax, so.
Right.
I'm in favor of moving forward. I think folks are supportive of this sales tax, to support an ER, and let's go forward and let's work with all the entities and say, this community supports it. They support it with sales tax. We're raising funds to help you be here.
I agree.
So we can put it
I agree
specific.
with that.
So let me ask, I'm a clarification question then. So if we say on the ballot for ER only and nobody comes to open the ER, then what do we do with the money?
I think it should say ER in some fashion and facilities. But let's say if Legacy burned down tomorrow, if it says facility, we could build a little building.
Well,
If it says facilities.
Well, I
on
want
it.
to say this, I guarantee for an absolute certainty, I mean, I haven't talked to them, but I guess if they got $19 million for that building, they would sell it tomorrow. That building is not worth 19 million. I mean, it's not gonna,
But
The buildings were negative.
it's a
I'm tired
negative.
of seeing that nonsense on Facebook.
yeah,
The
it's at
buildings were
19 million.
negative.
But my point is, we got a plan in case we
They want
have
it- I
to
mean,
build a
I
little
want it to burn
building.
down.
If we have to build a little building, you can continue with the ER. Let's say Nevada Region or Amberwell happens to get here and they sell that building. If this sales tax says and facilities, then we could have the money to build a small building. Probably not enough, but it's gonna start.
Well, we need to be transparent about that. Everything
Yes.
that I've researched, and Clifton can back me up. I hope he can back me up on this. I hope it's not a bad statement, but you're looking at 15 to 18 million minimum. It's probably more like 20 to 22 million.
It could be.
Is that true, or am
Yeah,
I?
that's true.
Yeah.
So can we open it up a little bit to, cause see, Ann wants to say something, and I wanna know if anybody else has an opinion on this.
Clifton?
I mean, I don't care as long as you don't go on a 30-minute
Yeah.
rant.
Yeah.
No, I just want.
I missed the banter.
I
Yeah.
want to back up. I want, okay. I think people hear me just fine on YouTube. Anyway, I want to back up. Yeah, okay, hit the button. I want to back up just a little bit because you've clarified a lot of things, and maybe you feel like you've clarified this enough, but I don't think you have. The licensing thing, you did just touch on it. If we never get a license, could we quite possibly, help me, be getting the cart before the horse in putting this as to a vote? How, okay,
I understand your question.
and it passes and we're collecting money and
that's why
and,
I said,
and
what do we
again
do with
you've
the
said
money?
it, you've kind
But-
of said it, but I think you need to keep saying we do not, no one, Via Christi, Nevada, Amberwell, no one has a license to come here and
no,
Yeah.
do it.
No, that's not true.
That's not
That's
true?
not true.
No, because they could have one quickly.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
30 days.
They could have one very quick.
Who
Nevada
they?
and
Who?
Nevada and Via Christi could have
Because
a license.
They're within
they-
35 miles.
But Amberwell couldn't.
No.
No.
So
But Amberwell could use one of their licenses.
Yes.
One of the Who's license.
Nevada
Well,
or
if they,
Pittsburgh.
if they,
would be
if they
Christine.
agreed to work together.
And we have to have a
How
special
about we
letter by
have
the
them agree to
state.
work together before we give them any money? I mean,
Well,
'cause, you know,
because Nevada
Well, we're
has
not giving
issues.
anybody any money at this point.
I know, but it's.
We
on the
can't. That's
horizon.
up to them. They're the ones doing us a favor, not us doing them a favor. I mean,
Yeah. It's a,
Only thing
yeah,
I'm
they don't
asking
need
is,
this problem.
let the
by way.
voters decide if they want to subsidize an
An
ER
emergency.
for Bourbon County.
but it needs to
and
say
facilities.
Yeah, because without the ER, if we get it for ER and nobody comes, I don't know what to do with the refund.
Well, if it
There you
says
go.
facilities, we have some
And-
options.
So
If we
and
don't
yet-
have a
so-
license,
so
we
and-
have money sitting in a pot.
So yes. So
You know.
my answer to you is that yes, potentially. But if you don't have the carrot,
Yeah.
You can't
have
offer
no-
the carrot.
You have no, yeah.
so
I
so
know.
so if I don't, we don't
Okay.
have $1.5 million setting somewhere to entice anybody.
Yeah, I get it.
Does that
We're not
make
gonna-
sense?
like it, but I get it.
I
And
agree
we're not
with
going to
Cliff,
get the
but we gotta
RH
have that carrot.
designation. We're not going to. Yeah.
I mean,
There's no standalone ER
So-
license. Just
the state, yeah.
Can you pass a sales tax?
Microphone.
Can you pass a sales tax that would then have a trigger?
explain trigger. What's the
Well,
definition?
let's say you get all this comes together to fruition, that we would have a need for a half a cent sales tax, and then it kicks in.
I think, and Charles can correct me if I'm wrong, but that'd be a very unique petition because you're basically, it's a backward sunset. You're saying basically if we don't have an ER, we're not going to collect any sales tax. But my understanding of how it works, and this goes back lots of research over lots
I
of
brought my book just in case
Yeah,
you needed it.
I don't, obviously they have to start collecting the sales tax. So I guess basically you're saying that if we don't have it, we're not gonna collect any sales tax. It's gonna stay on the books until we do have one.
No, well,
I mean, it could go on for 20 years.
what
before we have
you're
one.
trying to achieve by the vote
I get what you're doing.
is to get the public
Support.
to
Yeah.
say we want to do this.
Right.
But you can't do anything if you would start collecting the money
Yeah, I know,
because
I completely understand.
so let's
Well,
just see if we can do that.
So yes, and yes, yeah. We
I've never seen a petition like that.
We
doesn't
can
mean
work
they
on it
can't
though.
do
Let's
it.
be first.
we could absolutely use the money for other things.
Yeah, but that's not what the people want to hear.
Well, medical for
I'm
healthcare.
just not like.
You're talking about
and I'm not
roads?
saying nothing like the city, Michael. I'm
I
talking
know,
about for
but you know
healthcare.
what I'm talking
I know
about.
exactly what you're saying, but for instance, we could say, okay, we will go ahead and purchase another new ambulance. We will go ahead and try to hire another couple paramedics and maybe scatter them around through the county. I don't agree with that scenario, but we possibly could. But we could also go to who's currently in town, CHC, and say, okay, let us help you boost your urgent care, which I hate that option, and I want that made very clear. I don't agree with that option at all. But the money could be spent. I mean, in healthcare, $1.5 million is not very much. I hate to say that, but that's just true.
Well, but it is to us. People that are spending sales tax dollars, every day at Walmart,
And
it
Mr.
adds up. I just went out and bought my mother a new tablet. It was like $80 for the sales tax.
When you spent 30 cents, if it would have been sales tax for an ER, you would have spent 35 cents maybe?
More?
A half a percent?
No, 0.5%. I don't know. I don't ask me to
80.
stand up here and do math. What I'm saying is,
Well, it's 50 cents on
and
$100.
let me just finish what you were saying. So we would start collecting the sales tax, and if we had a milestone or deliverable clause in that sales tax, and if in so many months, so many years, we didn't get to where we wanted it to be, then it just was sunset. By the fact that we didn't reach our goal of what we wanted that money spent for. Because you could always figure out some place to spend the money. I know that.
Well, I personally think the money will be spent on emergency room. I mean, we can talk about all the
I hope
negatives,
that's
and
the
it
case,
sounds
but-
very negative what we've said and what I've said. But my opinion is the money would be spent on emergency room and more doctors and a more robust healthcare with some physicians and such as a rural health clinic along with that.
Yeah, I don't have any
emergency
control
room.
over
That
that.
would be my opinion. And I think as I say, that there's only two that can provide that license, but I think I think we'll have, I mean, I believe the money would be spent on an emergency room next year.
I would have a hard time voting for a sales tax that I didn't know where it was going.
We'll be
Period.
very clear on the ballot where it's going.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Charles?
Yeah, Charles.
Well, there's a difference between something that is necessary and something that is sufficient. When something is necessary, it's a piece among many pieces that must exist for something to occur. It's for you to go from here to Kansas City in your car, it is necessary for you to have gas. But it is not sufficient. Because you also have to have air in the tires. You also have to have oil in the crankcase. Now, what we're talking about here is not a sales tax that is going to be sufficient to guarantee that there will be a rural emergency hospital or emergency room in Bourbon County. But it is necessary. It is one of those pieces of the pie, one of those clicks of the tumbler in the safe that has to click in order for this project to move forward, as I see it. As far as the ballot is concerned, I would view this as a special purpose sales tax. It is, as I understand it, 1/2 of 1%. That's what I've heard has been discussed. That the special purpose sales tax would go for a period of 5 years. Do we know when it would start? If it were to pass in April, would it be July 1?
Probably July 1, yes.
Okay. So I would suggest that the language direct that the sales tax money, I would avoid the word subsidy because there's some implications with that. For example, you'd have to compare revenues versus expenses to see what the deficit is. I would prefer language that says financial support. And I would zero in and say financial support for a rural emergency hospital or emergency room. Now, that's not to say that this is going to be a substitute for the Medicare funding for the rural emergency hospital, but would allow the property to be built to comply with the rural emergency hospital requirement. And then I would put in the ballot the doomsday, the fail-safe, the safety net. For example, if the commission finds that there is no financial support called for whatever reason, hopefully that reason is because REH has been approved and qualify, and whoever comes builds a rural emergency hospital. But for whatever reason, why could that sales tax money not be dedicated directly to reduce property taxes?
Well, in 10 years, our property taxes are going to go down a lot. I mean,
5 years.
No, I'm saying in the next 10 years from 2025, so in 2035, our taxes are going to be reduced by a substantial amount based off of projects that are in the works. So,
But right.
Right.
But this would, it could be continued.
Right.
It could be continued by another vote.
Yeah,
It'd
sure.
have to come
yeah,
back
I'm
on the
saying
ballot
5 years. I get
5
it.
years hence.
But once you drop the mill, you can never get it back.
Well, my concern would be that, as Clifton mentioned, commissioners down the road, I don't want this to let the commissioners decide, well, we're gonna lower property tax with this money. I think that would send the wrong message to the voters. This is about health care. So I would like to leave, that's a good ideal, but.
Well, it's up to you guys, of course.
I don't
But
wanna
I'm-
send
I'm
any kind of
thinking that-
message any more than health care.
I mean, Clifton, can I ask you a question about REH? If we got the
Excuse me, I'm gonna sit down, but
Oh, sorry,
remember, healthcare involves bike paths, jogging trails,
Right.
diet, exercise equipment.
Indoor
I mean,
pool.
indoor
high
pool.
school.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you've got to be careful,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's why the focus on a rural emergency hospital or emergency room. And then consider the backup is if the money is collected and there's nowhere to spend it, that it be used to apply to the budget for the property tax situation.
Okay.
Or define it. Don't let it just sit there.
One more
Yes.
ask, if we got the REH designation, it looks like it's gonna be, it won't be this year, or maybe even next year, but if we got it, how long would it take to implement it?
Well, I mean, I don't know that, if the Senate,
If they go back and date it back to two
I
thousand
mean, if the
fifteen,
Senate passes it and then the
House.
House passes
gonna
it,
be a
which,
problem.
by the way, we have a House that's only passed 28 bills in 2023. So it's the worst since 1932 or 1 or something. And I will say this, and I hope everybody's listening. You guys are an absolute embarrassment in Washington. But you know, they are 28 bills. Come on, this should be the biggest There's no reason a Democrat or a Republican should not pass this bill. And I know you didn't say this, but I'm going to go on a rant because it's an embarrassment to be an American for people I voted for not to push this through. It's a joke. You don't care. They don't care about people. All they care about is getting elected or reelected, and that goes for the state of Kansas, the senators and the representatives of the state of Kansas also. I will talk about that later on what one of them said, the president of the Senate and the Speaker of the House. Absolute embarrassment for health care, and they don't care about people. It's a joke. But back to what you said. If by some miracle it passed the House and the Senate, it would go through Medicare, and I mean, I don't know, 6 months.
So
Rob,
going back to.
Did you have something, Rob?
Oh, sorry, I wanted to
Go-
finish it with
go
Mr.
ahead, go
Gentry.
ahead.
So, I mean, Mr. Gentry's right on point. We're talking about there has to be some kind of stopgap, and I totally agree, and that's what we were bantering about. You know, we're at 2 years and 6 months is our best case scenario. I mean, right now, what we were told today is it's gonna be tough to get it through this legislative session. Just, we're hoping it happens. Hopefully they
They
feel
have
pressure.
said, this is what people need to understand. Our representatives in the state of Kansas have said, as long as there's a Democratic governor, they're not going to pass certain bills. That is a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. You should be writing your senators. They are not going to pass bills because we have a Democratic governor. Now that is a joke. They are putting people's lives on the line for their political aspirations. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. And they're doing it in Washington also.
They are. I
It's an
recall.
absolute joke.
I recall years ago when Obama was sworn in, Mitch McConnell stood there and said, as long as that Democrat's in office, we will not do nothing. So you're right, Clifton. They're still going
Well,
on.
I wasn't planning on I wasn't planning.
I had one hopeful comment. The Consolidation Appropriations Act that went into effect or affected hospitals December 27, 2020, the date in question.
You're right, I think you're right on.
Who signed that piece of legislation into law?
I'm not saying it.
No, if you're concerned about the United States House of Representatives, maybe they should be reminded that Donald Trump signed that piece of
I said Trump.
legislation to create the REH. If it comes back round.
That's what I'm
they
saying.
drive the date
This
back.
is the most, I mean, both sides of the aisle should be on board with this.
Oh, yeah.
But no, because we have a Democratic president, they're not going to pass anything. They're a joke. They're an absolute embarrassment to the American people. And you can print that.
Well,
I
I
hope
wanna-
it's all over the country by tomorrow.
I want to make a comment. You know, I mean, Ann's been around for a while. Not to call you out, but our benches have changed quite a bit, haven't they? Yeah. Okay. Good. Just want to make sure. I want to clarify that. And Commissioner Beth, I understand your passion, and it is important because Charles Gentry hit the nail on the head. I believe, based off the conversations I've had with business owners, people that I know that are scared, they're concerned. I get what people's opposing of an ER is, but we have to have an ER.
Yeah.
And that's my opinion. I'm gonna stick with it. But based off, I know people that have left town already because we don't have one. And so we did our, I'll say it, we did a data dive back in 2018, and we know we'll have a decrease in population, decrease in sales tax, decrease in property taxes. And it's not chump change, it's substantial. The minimum I found was 16%. The maximum is 28,
I know you've got an answer for this, but how can Lynn County get away with not having an ER?
because people chose to live there. You have companies here that had an ER when they were here, just like a school or anything else.
How many industries and companies are in Lynn County?
I know of one that's not the power plant.
That's it.
So I want to banter about this because I'm not going to name any companies, but they're here. Companies that have manufacturing. You know, you have a machine that cuts paper or cuts steel or cuts something, and you have a gentleman or a person that puts their hand in there and it gets cut off.
What's the one by Pleasanton?
That's the
Fab-
concrete. I don't.
Fabconica or
Yeah.
Fabcon. Fabcon.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
yeah.
right. And I mean, there's other small industries within Lynn County, but what I'm saying is that for Bourbon County, when you had an ER, you got someone that cuts a finger off, your insurance is different if you have an ER close. And so, I mean, I'm making some guesstimates on this, but when you have an ER that's 45 miles away or 45 minutes away, it's going to change your insurance. It will. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, because you have to, and maybe the economic developer can back me up on this, but having an ER close, just like a fire station, the closer your fire station is, the cheaper your insurance is. It's the same thing with manufacturers. And so those manufacturers were here. Actually, even a better scenario is you lived on a paved road your whole life, and then you don't have a paved road anymore. You chose to buy that house because it was on a paved road. You choose to open your company here because they have an ER. It's that serious, because you have companies that have to have an ER within certain distances to keep their insurance low. That's a reality. Am I wrong or right about that?
No, the workman's comp insurance goes into the cost of labor. I mean, all day long. It's just the part, the hidden part of cost of labor. But yeah, you're correct. I mean, any little bitty cost increase to any company that has any amount of employees is going to be a huge substantial increase in the bottom line of any company. But I actually stood up here as a citizen, not as a economic development director, asked a question with the proposed sales tax. It's kind of like a statement actually as well, but with the proposed sales tax, if passed by the constituents, and then REH doesn't get passed for a couple years from now, couldn't those funds be used to towards a bond amendment that could be used to build a new facility? Because it's no different than when you put in new sewers in a community, you can use the increase in sewer rates as the instrument to pay those bonds back over a 20-year period. You could do the same thing with the sales tax, as in that would be the bond payment over a 20-year period, and that would give you, I mean, obviously it's still 20 years, but that gives you your $1.5 million. If you need $20 million to start or to build a small acute care facility that could have an emergency room and 10 beds or whatever it need, what I'm saying.
Right.
You could use that tool to then bond that money to build that facility.
Right. Charles, help me with this a little bit, because this is, I think a bond, and I've learned this through some other things through the city, a bond is a completely different funding mechanism than the sales tax. So I don't think you can I don't think you can intermingle them on a ballot question.
No. I'm saying you pass the sales tax,
right,
and then 2 years from now you say, oh, we're not going to get REH.
You have to mention the bond in the ballot, because the money is going to go from an ER or from.
So you have to pass both the bond and the sales tax at the same time?
The ballot would have to mention the bond, and then you have to pass the bond. You have to do two votes. I think I'm pretty sure that's how it would have to work.
But you couldn't say it could be used for a bond to build a facility.
It could be used, but then you're going to have to go back and pass the bond.
And if you don't pass the bond, then you're in the, okay.
So
All
the
right.
problem with it is that what I've always had a problem with legally is the refund.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be used for something, because there's no way to refund the person who bought the leather jacket or the beer or the dinner or whatever you want to say. It's impossible. So then where does the funds go? So
Sure, I understand.
That's the problem.
I think you have to be careful, like Mr. Gentry said, when you say facilities, healthcare facilities, but I think you could.
Well, healthcare is too general. I think you look.
Sure,
at,
but I'm saying if you said, that's what I was saying.
Right.
You can't say healthcare facilities, because what is a healthcare facility? But you could say emergency room and or rural,
I think how Allen County
rural
solved-
health clinic.
Yeah, how Allen County solved it is they said funding healthcare services, including, funding healthcare services is a big broad, but then they bring it down to really narrow and they say emergency medical ambulance services. So like Clifton Commissioner Beth was saying is that if we don't get it funded for an ER or healthcare, then it funnels down into obviously the transportation costs, the time that they're taking people to Nevada or KU or Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but how do they get away with just saying emergency health services?
Well, they put ambulance in.
Yeah, but you have to have a hospital with the emergency room, like for them.
No, I'll read it to you again.
If they closed down, they couldn't get an emergency
Shall a
room.
countywide retail sales tax in the amount of 25% be imposed for the purpose of partially funding healthcare services, and then including emergency medical ambulance services? So if none of that worked, the stopgap is the EMS.
Okay,
That's your
Okay.
stopgap.
Oh,
if-
sure.
If nothing else happens, it goes to EMS.
it goes straight to EMS. Okay,
Like Clifton was saying, you're gonna have to, because right now, I mean, based off our prior experience with this, I guarantee it, I've never seen it, I haven't asked, I haven't talked to them at all, but I know that they're doing more transports than they ever did.
sure. The only other thing I will say, just to go off of what Mr. Commissioner Beth was saying, is that there has been conversations had with other senators from other states. And it has been specifically stated that they would rather pass the bill that the REH is attached to after the election this year.
And I want to clarify, I was told that these senators and our state senators and representatives said those words.
Okay.
I
don't
did
know.
not hear them specifically.
I don't know if it was our
they
state, but
said
I know
that.
another state's U.S. state senator said they would like to pass it after the general election this year because they didn't want it to be able to be used as a election tool for the other side this year. So I agree
So
that.
we put lives on the line.
Yeah, so I feel that it's bad that politics overweighs lives sometimes, but I agree it's sad. Write your senator, write your U.S. congressman, tell them that, REH is important. And it's not just for this community, too. Like, we want it for this community, but somewhere else needs it for their community just as bad, so.
There's other
But-
communities.
Thank you, Rob.
Okay, so hate to say it, but Michael Hoyt seemed like if what he said was possible, it seemed like a decent idea to me. I mean, you could use if that passed, sort of like if this happens, then this tax will go into effect. You could use that as your bargaining chip, whatever, to deal with whoever.
I've done
then-
a lot of research on petitions because we've had some petitions in the past through other municipalities I had to research. I've never seen one that reverses it because there has to be a collection process that's involved. But what Mr. Hoyt was saying is that once the ER comes here or once someone decides to open it back up again, then the sales tax would initiate. I can call, see
Yeah.
what's
So you
possible.
wouldn't have to refund anything
I
because
wouldn't
no money would
support
be.
that.
Why not?
Because I want that carrot out there to get folks interested in
What
coming
you're saying,
here.
if it was voted on, then it would be there. It would be there.
It would be sitting there until finally, if we got an ER, and we pray that we get an ER, then it starts. What if Amberwell called tomorrow and said, we'll be here next week, but we need $1 million? We gonna raise property
I don't like
taxes?
crap like that. I
Well,
mean,
I
look,
Well,
legacy
but healthcare.
noble.
But that's a different subject. We're talking healthcare.
I want to banter about this because
Okay.
it's actually interesting, and I don't, I don't disagree with Mr. Hoyt, but here's the problem. And once again, I have not visited with EMS. I have no idea what the reality is, but knowing from prior experience on this is that if you don't have an ER, your cost of your EMS goes up. And so
Has to.
by not having the ER, you got these guys over here doing more transports. And so you have to add another ambulance. You have to, and add another 2 shifts. So there's 700, 600,000 all day long. And so without the ER, you're gonna have to come up with the money anyway.
Or
So,
2 ambulance.
well, to
Maybe.
be safe, I mean, you're probably gonna, and this is just me with prior knowledge, building the budget back in 2018, is that they're gonna be on the road more. There's no way around it. That's just logic. You can't, without an ER, you're not going 10 miles or 5 miles. You're going 35 miles. They have to process that patient. They have to do the paperwork. They have to sit there for a bit, and then they turn around and come back. Well, that's an hour and a half. If they go to KU, that's 2.5, 3 hours. So
Well,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
at least the
4. So KU is 4 hours. I'm sorry.
And if we run into like we did
I wanna, I wanna make a comment about the ice storm, because this is when I knew that we were in trouble. And I don't wanna talk negative, because I've been working on being a positive person, and I love Fort Scott, this is where I wanna be. But if the ice storm didn't wake people up, then they got problems, because without the ER, in the middle of an ice storm, helicopter can't land. They're literally on ice. It was glass going down the highway. 69 highway had, I wish Eric was here. How many cars was in that pileup?
15 plus one of our ambulances.
Right. So we had a huge pileup in Bourbon County. There is no way physically possible the EMS or a helicopter could have gotten someone to an ER.
Trapped.
It was not possible.
Wait, there's no way EMS or ambulance could have got someone to an ER.
It wasn't
Could they
possible.
have got the one to, if there was an ER in Fort Scott, could they have even
Absolutely,
gotten
they could have got them there.
there? I
'Cause
mean,
it was-
at least the good thing about spending money on EMS is at least we know we're gonna get something out of it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So if it's not healthcare, that's why I like Allen County, is because it basically said healthcare, if not ER, or if not EMS.
I would make it
Yes,
as
Charles.
specific as possible, because just what Charles said, healthcare can mean a swimming pool, healthcare
Well, I
can
would
mean
say
trails.
ER, how about ER? ER or EMS.
Yes, please.
A rural emergency hospital.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have a little concern about a ballot proposal to adopt a sales tax, effective April 24, or voted on April 2024, that won't go into effect until 2025, 2026.
Yeah.
Because you have the voters today deciding on the tax.
5 years from now, yeah.
And just the comment made earlier, about the businesses moving to Lynn County, knowing there's no hospital there. The folks would know what the sales tax is gonna be if it's passed. If it's passed, it's in effect, and the money is charged, and we know what it is. And it means that folks voting today, we're voting that tax upon themselves.
But that's everything. We voted a 0.5% or 0.4 for the jail for 20 years. So 20 years ago now, or 10 years ago, they voted a tax in.
That's
I
true.
wasn't here. I didn't know it was voted for the jail.
This
You
is
got-
for 5
you got
years.
jail.
This would be 5
This
You
is
got
for
jail. So
5
you
years.
got something. You got jail.
You're gonna sunset in 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
And I would say,
Or
make it,
reevaluate.
make it really specific, going rural healthcare, or, / ER, and if then not, then EMS. I mean, for 5 years, because if we don't have a hospital here for 5 years from now,
Commissioner Bennett,
It's gonna
is
be-
there any rural hospitals that you know of that aren't subsidized in some way?
Not that I know of.
I like,
Subsidies, I mean, critical access is a subsidy. It's a federal subsidy that makes you whole at the end of the year. That's a subsidy, and there's a lot of critical access hospitals. We could have been a critical access hospital here, which would have probably saved us. There's no such thing as a rural hospital that doesn't have some type of subsidy.
None.
From the federal government, from the local government, it's just how it is.
And none that, well,
None that's public, or like, I mean, if you got a
there's
private.
Via Christi's not.
Yeah, but
They're a PPS hospital.
I don't,
well, we know that a PPS hospital won't work
They're
here.
owned by Ascension, which is a
That's already
multi-billion-dollar
been here.
corporation.
Yeah.
So, as far as anybody rural, like Labatt is subsidized, Coffeyville, Nevada, Girard
Kinsley.
is Harrington's trying. They're trying to. They may have actually got REH status, if I'm not mistaken, possibly. But they just closed. So different deal.
Hiawatha just has.
So no, there's not really. So we would be at 8.4% sales tax.
No, it'd be we'd be in
Yeah,
the
it's
10.
already 9 something.
Or
isn't it?
we'd be over 10.
inside the city limits.
No, I'm talking about
Yeah.
Bourbon County. I'm talking about where I live.
Oh, I haven't looked that up. Sorry, I didn't.
7.9%
It's,
is what
yeah,
it says.
I think it'd be over 8.
It's 7.4 where I live today.
So
There's
city,
7.4.
Yeah.
I was thinking the city would be over 10
I'm
cents.
7.9.
It's, the
Already.
city is 9
Well, mine's
something
same
now.
thing.
6.
9.6.
Yeah, it'd be over 10 cents.
I like what Mr. Gentry mentioned on the ballot, ER, or
Rural health care hospital ER, then
Well, you got to be
Yeah,
careful
so
about
straight.
saying rural
Right.
emergency
It doesn't
hospital
exist.
because that's already a designation by the federal government,
Right.
so we couldn't
That
put
calls
that
something a
in
little
our
different.
Right.
ballot. I don't think.
But that would give us an opportunity to go forward if we
And-
needed to.
And so we're talking about imposing that if it gets voted on for 5 years, is that right?
Spent though in a
So-
facility that would comply with REH, check the other boxes.
Yeah, but I don't think I personally don't think we should use their language, their federal language. It's already a
So
designation.
what are we gonna do with the money if after 5 years
It goes to
we
EMS.
still have nothing?
It goes to EMS.
It is sponsored. E
Because it's
EMS
gonna get
fund.
them the
Well,
extra
it could
ambulance
go
or-
to EMS or rural health clinic.
Like Clifton mentioned, maybe we could work out agreement with somebody already here to do 24/7, and we help
You
pay for
could-
doctors or
You could
something.
entice some physicians to come, which I hate that option because urgent cares are nowhere even close to the same as an emergency room.
I don't think a urgent care, 24-hour urgent care is gonna qualify under your workers' comp.
No, I'm just saying, I mean,
Yeah.
I hate that, but
Yeah.
I mean, it could, theoretically, it could
Right.
possibly be spent.
I think we
on-
should put something in there, maybe, that if in 5 years, we don't have a viable, we don't have a ER that's coming in here, that we don't have to spend it,
Well, what would you do with it then?
I
Just
don't
set
know.
an account
May-
forever?
Maybe we wouldn't have a freaking emergency. Maybe if we could afford to fix something if something broke down. Maybe everything wouldn't constantly be, oh my God, we have no money,
Yeah,
Maybe
but if you
put it
gotta
in the
put in there,
general
you gotta spend it somehow.
I think it might be I don't,
Put
there
it in
could
the
be,
general
we have to
fund.
look at the cash basis laws too, because you're gonna have this huge sales tax it's gotta be designated for something, I think, based off the petition language I've read, it has to be designated something, it can't just be,
You just can't pay there.
I mean, I understand where you're coming, I completely, I
Yeah, 'cause,
know
we got
exactly
all
what
this
you're
money,
talking.
we gotta
Right,
spend it on something
right.
that's not gonna get us anything.
Right. Why,
Well, new ambulances would get us something.
Huh?
I'm not sure you could roll.
yeah,
over
the cash
into
basis law, I don't
tax
think lets you do it,
base, the cash base.
yeah.
Okay, I know what I wanna do.
So what I'll do, and absolutely, I would love to talk to Charles. I like Charles a lot. If it's fine with you guys, I'd like to maybe interact with him, and we can come up with 3 different or 4 different examples of putting something on a petition and then submit it that maybe at the next meeting.
Very good.
Yes.
You want to come hang out in my office for an hour?
Thank
That
you,
could be
Charles.
Yeah.
a great idea.
Yep,
Great, thank you.
yep.
Great idea.
Well, I'm up again.
Okay, go.
I'd like to pass out. You guys instructed me to write a letter, and I've done that. I would take any changes, but this is the letter you guys voted on last week, and I wanted to make sure that I got it to you. You see the organizational name, address, and stuff. I need to know what organizations you want to send it to, and then I can, plug it and have you guys sign it at the next meeting and send it. And this is dealing with Ready, and there's a little backstory on this. We ran into an interesting scenario that occurred recently, and I think Commissioner Beth hit the nail on the head that we need a clarification letter to make sure everybody knows that Ready needs to be contacted.
Well, I think the city is voting tomorrow night on this.
Yeah, and if you guys are fine with this letter, I can have it ready to be signed. There'll be multiple organizations we'll need to send it to, or you guys make a vote to have, 2 commissioners, or you have to have at least 2 commissioners sign it to make
Do
it.
people out here have this letter?
Not yet. You have to.
Is it a court request or?
No,
It's open to the
absolutely.
public?
Yeah, I'm gonna give one to Jennifer after this, and they
Okay.
can. Because it's just a draft. And the reason I'm doing it, obviously, we don't do letters like this very often, but when we do, I like to have them in an open session so that there's transparency and that we can talk about it and banter about it. And you don't have to send it. I was
Okay.
instructed to do it, and I did my job.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
all I'm.
Remember what my opinion on this
Yeah,
is?
I understand.
Okay.
Yep.
I like it.
I was just told, it was a 2-1 vote, and you
Yeah.
abstained, so that's a no vote. But it
Yeah.
was 2-1, so I had to do it.
Certainly need the city of Fort Scott.
So here's my 2 cents on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a problem with either of these people. So these are actual people that live in the community. Not going to mention any names, but some people are behind this one organization and some people are behind this other
That's the
organization.
problem.
These are people that
That's the
live in our
problem.
community.
That's the problem.
And so all this planning and the planning that Ready has done and all the crap they've done, stuff they've done, all the things that this other organization has done. And I'm not saying, I should have been or anything, but every time I'm involved in any discussion by either one of these, they're talking about stuff that's been in the planning way before I've been involved in the picture. It's crap I know nothing about. I wasn't involved in any of it. And it's automatically, if I have an opinion, it's going to be outvoted. So I'm not gonna sign this because I don't know who the good guys are here. So
There's no
I
good.
ain't-
There's no good. I mean,
Okay.
I will talk about this from experience. There's no good guy or a bad guy.
yeah,
The difference is
I
that
don't know which one I'm gonna support,
right, sure.
so I'm not signing.
So either both organizations, in my opinion, have a different job function. And so what's happened recently is that there's a confusion at the state level that they don't know who is responsible for what job function. So obviously what we're trying to do is clarify that function. And I'm being political on purpose, but right now I was involved in that meeting, and it was very interesting, the confusion that occurred with who they should have contacted. And when they brought up a problem, it was solved almost within 10
No,
seconds.
let's go on. Let's talk about the fact that the confusion was dealing with two businesses that just closed and 200 or 300 employees, and those people were contacting the wrong people. Let's just say it. No, I mean,
Right.
the confusion affects, people think we're not doing anything for these people that are, and Reddy's not doing anything for these people that are losing their jobs. Well, guess what? The other two organizations had information and weren't doing anything with it. Let's be real. Let's call it, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
Probably a duck.
Why'd you paint the
Probably
duck blue?
duck, yeah.
Why'd you paint the duck blue? Yeah.
I mean,
Well, no, but I wanna-
the two organizations mishandled and could possibly affect those 300 people's lives. How about that? Let's get that out there. Let's get out there that the fact that Kansas workforce is not working with Reddy.
That's true.
The information was not even given.
They are
had
now.
nothing.
They are now.
They are now.
They are now.
But they weren't. They contacted two other organizations and nothing was being done.
As one
And those
commissioner,
people want to blast Rob when they should be blasting the other people down the street because they were doing nothing.
They were trying.
as one commissioner, I want to support Bourbon County Ready as our economic development source that supports Bourbon County. I don't have a problem with this other organization because I know they've done some good, healthy grants. I think they should continue what they're doing, but I don't think we should have any confusion from the state or any company. We have one contact that's ready. Today, that's Mr. Harrington to represent Bourbon County. We have to have one contact to avoid the confusion that Clifton's mentioned here. So I support this letter. HBCAT has a place, what they've done some great grants. I don't want them to discontinue, but for Bourbon County economic development, that is ready, and my vote.
And I'll clarify, I once again, I go back to what I've said before. I love living here. This is my town. I want it to prosper and I want it to be a great place. I mean, that bottom line, I don't care who's competing against what, but I've experienced it firsthand where there's an absolute confusion. We experienced that with two other projects that we're working on. We're going to go to an executive session about some other confusion that occurred. So, I mean, it is happening in real time. And so we need to make sure that the state agencies, the lieutenant governor's office needs to know, the governor's office needs to know. One real-time example, they contacted the wrong organization. They did, and they can say they were trying to work on it, but they have no taxing authority here. Well, I'm gonna say this, the bottom line is, the other organization has no elected officials in it. They have no tax dollars. There's nothing they have none. I mean, they get grants, which is tax dollars, but this commission, the city commission are voted into office. They provide, you guys provide the votes, the tax dollars
Now,
that are
sorry to
spent.
interrupt.
Yes,
This HB Cat,
Right.
the Healthy Bourbon County Action Team, right?
exactly.
Didn't they get the $50,000 for the Youth Corps Ministries?
No,
I mean, they're the
No.
ones.
no, absolutely not. No,
No.
absolutely not.
No.
No.
Somebody involved in that organization is involved in managing that.
No, they're
No.
just on the board.
On the board. I know this for a fact. I couldn't do a core request for Healthy Bourbon County Action Team. I would get nothing. And that request has actually been done before, and they're right. I would agree with their law. They don't have to give that information because they're not supported by tax dollars. I mean, Rob's projects, when they're
let's-
voted on, it becomes, I mean, here's a great example. The solar panel farms, once those contracts are signed and the deal is done, all that becomes transparent. Michael Hoyt, Ann Dare, everybody can get those contracts. If it is a private organization that doesn't have tax dollars, they don't have to release it. That's true. They don't have to. They can't get the information. And so that's not fair to the taxpayers. That's not fair to the people that voted you guys into office.
That's an interesting point. I've never heard that before, Justin. Thank you very much.
They can't get it. And everybody in town can make a court request to this organization, and they don't, I'm pretty sure they don't have to release it.
No, they don't. Because I tried to call requests and stuff from Reddy probably a year and a half ago, and I was told, we're a nonprofit, we don't have to give it to you.
Right. So the same thing, but the county, if you have that as your arm and you're
Right.
using that as a arm to help you, that all that stuff becomes court discoverable.
As long as it comes through the clerk's office.
Yep.
Yeah.
And actually, every single project we've dealt with has come through the clerk's office. There hasn't been one that hasn't been. Like today's
Drop
announcement.
my name, I just wanted to.
I know. Well, I mean, you're agreeing with me. I mean,
I agree with you.
everything at the end game has always been an open meeting, so that Mr. Silver's can put in the paper. You guys can banter. You can go through. You do your due diligence. It's all, it flows through and it becomes transparent.
And I appreciate what Nelson said, 'cause he wasn't involved in any of this.
No.
This was way before his time, so
Right.
I respect his vote. I
Right.
really, really do. So.
Right. And I'm not advocating. I'm doing what you told me to do.
Yeah.
I think that Health and HB Cat has done amazing things. They've wrote some big grants, but I'm not a big I'm trying to be somewhat responsible here because I don't want to get emotions involved. But I've been talking to people in the state, and they've called me because I'm county counselor. There isn't another county in the state of Kansas that can say $1.2 billion worth of projects.
Did you hear that, Jason?
No, we didn't, sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm talking.
I've been contacted by other people in the state that can't believe that our county has had $1.2 billion worth of projects announced in the last month. And today another project was announced that's going to bring jobs into our community. And I know for an absolute certainty, because I've been involved in those and I've been part of the team, that without Rob Harrington, those 3 projects would not be here. And he doesn't want to, I'm not big into celebrating people. I think that your actions speak louder than words. I'm really into that. That's the way I've always been. I don't pat people on the back very often, but I think it needs to be very clear, because to me it hasn't come out yet. It hasn't been said. Without Rob Harrington and Reddy, we would not have $1.2 billion worth of projects coming to our county. And Charles Gentry talked about property taxes. The number's been thrown around 80% reduction. My math, the minimum is 70%. It could be as high as 80%. But my son, if he decides to stay here in the county, will pay 70%, at least 70% less in property taxes than I did at the same age. That is a done deal. I talked to the council for the solar panel projects, and that is absolutely will happen.
Yeah. And
without Rob, it wouldn't have happened.
This might be included in those numbers, but without Rob Harrington, they would not be getting ready to move dirt at the event center.
Right. So it's shocking to me that we're even talking about defunding Reddy at any level. I mean, our assessed value, and I've talked about this for years now. I can go back and actually banter because I've been here for almost 10 years now. We've been working on our assessed value for the whole time I've been here. I mean, Mr. Hoy can back me up because he's been here. Our valuation is only 100 million, give or take another 10. That's it.
Yeah.
We have the lowest, one of the lowest assessed values in the entire state of Kansas. We're going to go from one of the lowest per capita in 10 years to one of the highest in the state per capita, not overall, because obviously Johnson County and Wyandotte and Sedgwick, but per capita for the 12,000 people or 13,000, hopefully it's 14 or 15 by then. But for those people that live in our county, that assessed value is going to be awesome, and the taxes are going to go down. And we're going to have, by 2025, we're going to have at least 300 to 400 people working in our county. Sales tax revenue will be generated. I mean, and today we added a whole bunch of jobs that pay pretty well. We're talking MDs, nurses. Yeah. And so I see Facebook, I see these posts, and I haven't commented on it in a while. I've been staying away, but I've kind of, at this point, someone's got to support Rob. He got beat up. He's getting beat up.
Michael?
Beat up.
I just want to.
You use very, very seldom when I get up here and defend the city commission. But Rob, help me here. What they agreed to last week or 2 weeks ago was to reconsider when the former commissioner got up and asked that the decision be delayed so they could determine how to intertwine the two and how they could work together. They weren't going. They're not putting on the agenda for tomorrow to vote for Ready or for somebody else.
Financially, they are, my understanding.
Yeah, we didn't get our contract approved.
Well, I understand that.
It could be voted down.
You know, I'm
Could
gonna
be voted, but
Yeah, go ahead.
it was how they were going to meld those two together was the thing.
I'm gonna say stuff. You know, I am, because I'm gonna say stuff. Rob, was there ever a comment made by someone in that organization that they would never work with you?
That's correct.
The director of that
I don't know.
organization.
Yeah, I've heard
They
that.
will not
I've
work
heard
with
that.
him.
I've heard that.
We know that.
So
Yeah.
Mr. Hoyt's heard it, so we've
I
all
know.
heard
I
it.
said I've heard that, but
Right.
I don't know that. It's
So-
hearsay.
So I think there was a lot of people in the room when that happened, so we could verify this, but there's no way that that's going to happen. It's just, let's call it an ace an ace. It is what it is, and I get it. I mean, they have two different job functions, but
But
when
we
one
can't figure out
organization
somebody
says they're
that
not
they
going to
can
work
work
with the other,
together.
when one organization says they're not going to work with the other one, that's an end game.
Okay, but
And so one organization has brought, which is awesome, well, I'm going to raise it. I'm going to actually bring the number up that I've seen. Let's say $5 million to our community, which is amazing. These small companies and organizations, they've used that money for great things, and it's a
Unless
great
you're
thing.
male, according to my son,
Well,
because
I'm
he
not-
couldn't get any money
I'm not
because
going
he's
there.
male.
I'm not going there. What I'm saying is that that's awesome, but we're talking, once again, I'm saying it again because that number hasn't been posted anywhere. I haven't seen it once. $1.2 billion worth of projects.
Rob Harris.
it's a,
1.2 billion.
but can we figure out some way to work together?
That's
Can't we
a-
all just get along?
Rob, would you be willing to work with any organization? to
No,
help with
we're
that?
not going down that road.
No,
That's not what
I'm
we're
not
here
asking
for.
for that. I'm
You
just
would,
saying
though.
I'm
that's
gonna
what
make
the
a motion
city's
to
going to
accept
do.
this.
Okay,
And send it
thank
to
you.
the city of Fort Scott. Clifton, you want to send anybody else?
who else?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I figured you did.
Can I borrow- I'm sorry, can I borrow your pen? I'm sorry about that. City of Fort Scott,
Well, I guess I'll second his motion and then for discussion,
Okay.
I guess. was
I'll
how
make
we
it official.
legally do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I make the motion to accept this letter as written from Counselor Meeks to be sent to different organizations to show support from Bourbon County Commission that we do support Bourbon County Ready as our economic development person or arm. Yeah.
the way this letter reads is he is your economic development director. He
He is our director.
Right, he's your ED.
Okay.
That's,
And sent to City of Fort Scott and Clifton. Commissioner Beth's got some other ones.
A second.
And a motion, a second, any
well,
discussion?
I would say discussion-wise, you might want to mention the names that we send it to before you approve it, because right now it's only
Okay.
the City of Fort Scott.
Yeah, that's what it's.
Right.
Okay, any discussion? Go
Yeah.
ahead, Clifton.
You're gonna have to help me on some names, but like Department of Commerce,
Okay, so Caleb,
Kansas Department of Commerce,
Okay.
Kansas Works.
slow down. I'm
Fort-
about- Okay,
Fort Scott Chamber of Commerce.
okay,
I've been told, and I don't know if this is true or not, but the Patterson Foundation is, I've been told that they are claiming that they are the economic arm of Bourbon County to the Patterson Foundation, so I would say we include the Patterson Foundation.
so that you would also include Pitt State?
And
Pittsburgh
Pitt
State.
State,
Pitt
Pitt
State.
State Workforce Development, Kansas Workforce Development, Pitt State Economic Development, whatever it's called.
We need Fort Scott Community College on there.
Sure.
Okay. Anyone else good?
No, I don't really.
Got a motion,
Anybody
a
else,
second.
Justin?
Any further discussion?
If there is additional names that we need to add, it won't probably be any, but if there is, would I be okay to approve, just have the letter ready for you guys' signature?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I just point out that that letter does say ready, it does not say Robert Harrington or anything.
Yeah, it does say,
It says ready.
it does say ready.
Okay,
Regional Economic Development Corporation.
that's right.
Does say ready.
We're a team, we do
Okay.
things as a team.
Right, and I want to say this, I you know I like you guys, I do, we've been around a long time, I haven't bantered in a while and I miss it. And I'm sorry I got fired up tonight, but it's just, there's a reason I've been gone for a year. You know, there's a reason, because it's tough.
It is.
It's tough, and Mr. Harrington has been absolutely assaulted on social media, and it's not fair. And really, there was another post today by another community leader that was amazing. It talked about, you know, being nice to each other and kindness, and you know, it's important. We need to bring it back. We need to come back and start being a team together because we have all this awesomeness going on, and I hope people realize that it's a big deal to say 1.2 billion.
It is a great big deal.
Not
Okay.
many counties can do
All in
that.
favor?
Got a motion second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Yeah, for reasons I previously stated, I'm going to abstain.
fine.
I agree.
That's a yes vote.
Abstain is actually, at the city level, I think it's yes, county it's no.
I can show you in your book.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, no, then. Make it simple.
Okay,
Make it simple.
he said no.
Okay, next thing on the agenda. Thank you, Justin.
Yep, I'm the next on.
Executive session?
Yep.
Okay.
I asked for an executive session for attorney-client privilege, possible litigation. I need to have the three commissioners, myself and Mr. Harrington, as an expert concerning the legal matter.
I make a motion to go into executive
It
session.
deals with contracts.
KSA 75-4319B2 for consultation with attorney for public body or agency which would be deemed privileged in the, Justin, hang on, which be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. Be three
Justin?
commissioners, Justin Meeks and
How
Rob
long?
Harrington. Justin, for how long?
You didn't say.
How long?
We can do it fast, 10 minutes.
For 10 minutes. We return here at, looks like 6:56.
A motion?
Yeah, second.
Got a motion, a second, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
What happened, I told him exactly, I had the card that when the applicant in, he said, that's what you investigate.
Oh, make a motion to resume normal session with action.
Second.
Got a motion, second, any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye. I make a motion to allow Justin to write a preliminary letter concerning concerning litigation of
Contract, breach of contract.
breach of contract that could cost the county millions. Or, yeah.
Do you want me to have
possible
all three
millions.
commissioners for the signature line? Or do you want me to talk to the other lawyer on the other, has the mutual exposure and do that first and then come back to the board?
Or whatever, you're the attorney.
I would suggest having a conversation with co-counsel possibly and discussing it with them to see what the best option is.
Okay. Then the motion would be that Justin can have the conversation and to, if need be, write a letter.
And you guys can
concerning-
approve it. at the
Concerning
later.
possible litigation that, again, would potentially cost the county millions.
And we don't have the exposure, it's on the it's not us causing the tort or causing the exposure, by the way, it's the other party.
Yeah, the other,
Yeah.
yeah, we're good in this situation.
Second.
Got a motion, second, any further discussion? Justin, I mean, part of my discussion, I'd like to see a quick turnaround on this legal part of it because
Sure.
I think we have some important decisions to
I'll make a phone
here.
call first thing in the morning.
Real important decisions. It could go either way, so.
Right.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Chairman, I have the responsibility to you, I can call you the minute I have that conversation and let you know what happened. So you'll know by tomorrow if I
Thank you,
get
thank
return
you.
phone call.
Okay.
So it's all privilege at this point?
Okay, commission comments. I know you're gonna do a prayer just a little bit. Clifton, anything?
I think, actually, I do want to clarify again. I was told I did not hear any of our senators or representatives speak those words. I was told they spoke them by people that should know.
I told you I went to an event, meet and greet, and none of them showed up.
Yeah, which,
Okay. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Reddy today for hosting the event at the Legacy Building. I'd like to thank Legacy owners for being there, and I'd like to support KRI for bringing their business to Fort Scott, Bourbon County, with a lot of outstanding jobs and a lot of help for, I know a lot of youth needs today, talking with the Southeast Kansas Medical Health. I mean, this is a very positive thing, so I want to thank everyone involved today, so, and God bless Bourbon County.
I would say that I think there's some people scared
Yeah.
of the word mental health and mental health institution. It's not a state institution. It's not Osawatomie, not in any way, shape, or form that. And so I think before people go saying things that they don't know what they're talking about, and they already are on Facebook. And I mean, I had a couple phone calls, and I'm like, you know, before you say something, try to find the facts of what they actually are doing. And it's not, it's you know, it's not a state hospital. It's not that. They're not going to be dumping people with severe mental health on our streets. That's not what they're doing. That is not what they do. So before you go plastering that nonsense on Facebook, you know, reach out to people that actually know. So anyway, that's all I got.
You know they're not going to. Clifton.
No, they're just going to plaster it.
It's
and then they're
easier to
gonna-
make it
and-
up as you go.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to be opening. You know, it's not some movie where they're going to open the doors and the zombies are going to come out and start eating people. That's not going to happen.
Well, I was told by some very good doctors that there's youth, even in Bourbon County, that's in a waiting line for assistance. So anytime we can help our youth, even old people like me, I'm in favor of it. So that's all I have.
Well, yeah, since I mean, we're all congratulating people, so it just popped in my head. I was thinking about it. Since I've been here, I have been extremely impressed with Eric Bailey and Dustin Halls. performance at Public Works. I mean, every time I call them, with one exception, whatever I've asked about, it's been done within a week. So thanks, Eric Bailey and Dustin Hall.
You don't know how much that this cost us in pay raises. I'm joking.
Yeah.
But you're right, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Would anyone like
It's
to?
prayer time. If you want to join us, you don't have to join us. Okay, thank you.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this evening. Thank you for us all being able to gather here. I pray that you will give us wisdom as we try to make these tough decisions for the county. I pray that you will give us wisdom and any of the other members of the public wisdom as we try to come up with the wording on this ballot. I thank you for possible good announcements we had today. And thank you for everything you've done for us. In the name of your Son, Jesus, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Nelson.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Doing okay?
Yeah, you're doing great.
It's on a Saturday. Probably. I don't know. Well, and then this next one is the community.
Still alive.
Yes, I got it. I can have you guys sign, please.
Yes.
So we all. Yes.
People hate facts. Facts, 59 hospitals in Kansas are in trouble.
Yeah, probably more than that.
And we just give away $7 billion.
There you go.
Thank you.